So we got to go from we got to find people all over the place. Wherever the people are, we got to find them. I'm getting stretched out right now. If you ever had a neck ache, I actually learned about this from Dr. Oz on the Oprah show, and he was talking about the neck hammock. And you know, we've become hammocked. So it's called traction. So it pulls, like, imagine someone grabs your hair and they just pull it, stretches out the vertebrae, and it's great stuff. So if you have a neck ache, this is the first time I've done this on the trip in months. It's the first time I've done my neck hammock. And now I'm doing it, and now I'm feeling super healthy, super charged, refreshed, renewed, restored, rejuvenated, revived. I'm back. So it's a new season. Spring. I don't know what the official first day of spring is. It was probably in March. Summer could be coming in June. But to me, April 21st, I think that's a special day. So I'm feeling a special way. And this is good times. Time under tension is what they always say. Time under tension. So we're building, we're stretching, and we're feeling good. If you do this for an hour, your whole vertebrae will thank you. You'll become 2 inches taller. This is a life hack. And if you do this enough, you'll eventually grow extra vertebrae. You'll have so much space. Your body will grow new bones. You'll have more bones in your body. And it's all about the health. Health is wealth. I've had multiple people cancel on me because they're like, oh, I just got an injection and now I feel tired and sick, and so I can't meet you. And I'm like, wow, is that real or an excuse? You don't know the answer to that question. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Some people are nice about it. Some people are mean about it. And both approaches have their advantages, right? When someone's nice to you, it creates an ambiguity in your brain. Is this person just being nice? Is this real? Is this fake? When someone's mean to you, you know what's up. But it's also awkward when people are mean to you and you don't know why. It's like, why are you being mean? Is it something I said? Is it something I didn't say? Is it something I did or didn't do? I just want to know. I just want open communication. If you're going to be mean to me, be very explicit and literal. Be patient. I have limited cognitive abilities. So just explain thoroughly exactly what the problem is. And then I'll know, and I'll be able to make an informed decision. And I think I'm reaching my limit here as far as the distance from the door. We're getting a lot of traction going. You know, a lot of times I feel that hot showers help. When you wake up in the morning and you take a hot shower, it really loosens up the joints and ligaments. I need to drink more collagen, apparently. That's one of the mom tips I've received on this trip. Drink more collagen powder, and it will help your joints. We've really got to get back on that. You know, we've got to drink a gallon of collagen a day. Oh, hello. I think we've got to drink a gallon of collagen a day. And what is that? Go CAD. My eyes are crossing. Go CAD, gallon of collagen a day. There's all these goals that we have to accomplish that, you know, you have the excuse of, oh, I'm not on a road trip. So it allows you to have all these good ideas. Whereas if I had the ability to implement these, they just kind of like, I kind of ignore them because then they would require action. And I don't want to necessarily do things. That's hard. So I'd rather not do things, but we're still doing things. We're doing things here, we're doing things today, we're doing things this morning, we're doing things this evening. Things are happening. And I guess this is all about feeling unstuck. You know, people always ask me, the first question they always ask me is they say, what's the purpose of the road trip? What are you doing? What are you trying to achieve? What's the goal? I say a lot of things, but one of the things I say is you got to get unstuck. You got to get out of the stuckness. What's going on here? Oh, that's something. Oh, okay. So anyway, you got to get unstuck. Whoa, things are happening. Uh, you got to keep moving. It's like a fish. It's like Finding Nemo. You got to keep swimming and going forward. And because when you're stuck, and what can you really do? You can't do much except bang your head against the wall. So you have to keep going to the next thing. Don't dwell too much on the things you can't control in the past, present, future. It's like, what can you do today? What can you do right here, right now? You can stretch your neck. You can just give your neck a little stretch. You don't need a fancy hammock. Stand up, grab the side of your head, and then pull to the side like this. Hold it for 30 seconds. Reset. Grab the other side of the head. Pull, hold it for 30 seconds. And voila, you've stretched your head probably more than you have, if you're not a big stretcher. You probably haven't stretched your neck in years. It's just waiting for you. Just a quick 30-second stretch. That's all I'm asking. Nothing heavy duty. But once you do that, then you start graduating and you start ascending. And one of the great stretches out there is the neck stretch. There's a lot of ways to do it. You can stand up against the corner of a wall and stretch it to the side and back, and that always gets your arteries and stuff. It always makes me feel like I want to pass out, but it's a good stretch. Make sure you have a spotter ready. Make sure you do this under medical supervision. Don't get up out of bed in the morning without medical supervision. Only a doctor can tell you the proper way to get up out of bed. You have to hire a personal trainer. I'm being silly, but probably a lot of my injuries in life would have been solved by that. If there's any doctors out there willing to become my in-home nurse, my 24/7 medical consultant, applications for volunteering are open. It is an unpaid internship. If you have a PhD and you're looking for something to do, maybe the job market isn't what it used to be. I know the medical industry recently has just got nothing going on. Everybody's healthy, nobody needs help, so you might as well come to me and go on a road trip with me. We've been on a road trip for several months now. People keep asking, is it already over? When will it be over? When is it going to be over? And I always say, I always give them a date. I always say, probably next month. But there's no reason we can't go for round two, And if you're a PhD and you're unemployed and you're homeless, if you're a homeless PhD, well, that could make two of us. We could both be homeless PhDs together. We could travel around the country educating the youth and learning from the elderly. That's what it's all about. It's about intergenerational connections. It's about breathing. It's about getting back to basics. It's about removing the wall and the veil of abstraction so you could just do things and not be constantly trapped in these intellectual cycles where you just think about how horrible everything is. Oh, wow, everything's terrible because of this, that, and the other. It's like, really? Have you seen a leaf today? Have you touched it? Did you smell the leaf? Did you take a bite out of it? That's not only do that under medical supervision, but if you have a travel nurse like I do at your beck and call, maybe eat some edible leaves, maybe have a salad, but not from the grocery store, because that's degenerate. You need to go out into the forest and pick some wild iceberg lettuce and eat that. And then that's going to taste quite sweet, not because of some micronutrient or something, some esoteric, oh, well, it's better because, you see, the soil quality is influenced by the level of taurine B, or who cares? It's just the fact that it's in an environment that's ancestral. You know, it feels intuitive. You're bringing back those genetic memories of time before the mechanization of life, and basically we internalize that external mechanization. You know, we can't go eat food, so we have to do it through this mechanism of the grocery store. And of course, there are civilizational efficiencies to that allow us to conquer other tribes because of our mechanization. And that's great and all, but there's a cost, there's a consequence. And some people are sensitive to that, and some people are not. Some people go through life sort of blissfully ignorant, and other people internalize the mechanization. They're the ones who see the mechanization, and through almost a process of intellectual empathy, they internalize it. And so now the grocery store is living inside their head. And so instead of like going to eat the food, you go through the medium of the mechanization. And instead of just like loving people and taking action and living life, there's this big thing, there's this big medium in between those 2 points, which is this mental mechanization. And when you're trapped in that, it's almost like I've talked about the worm fork coconut before, but this is like the sea of hammers. Like you're drowning in a sea of hammers, you know, and they say when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But when you're drowning in a sea of hammers, you're just hammering hammers, right? You're like, oh, I'm trapped inside this mechanization, this intellectualization, and I can't get out, but I have a hammer, so I'm just going to start whacking the other hammers. Well, the more you wriggle about in the sea of hammers, the deeper you're going to sink into the sea of hammers. The more hammers, you're like, well, that hammer didn't work. I need a bigger hammer. You know, hammering hammers. And it's just kind of this recursive, ever deeper sinkhole of just you keep using hammers to hammer hammers, and you just keep wriggling your body and shifting your body weight down into the ocean of hammers. And sometimes people do that and they finally get frustrated with the process. Sometimes if you exhaust yourself with intellectualization over days, months, weeks, or years, you might eventually get to the point where you're ready to give up hammering and you're ready to start putting the hammers behind you and swimming to the surface and breathing the air again. But some people don't do that. Some people think that they're doing it, but sometimes you're trapped in a sea of hammers and you can't tell which way is up, down, left, or right, forward, and backward. You're totally disoriented and imprisoned. So sometimes we got to give up on these hammers, you know. Obviously, hammers are a tool. You know, I've talked about forks before. What a great video that was. Sometimes I want to, you know, deprive myself of sleep just to make that type of video again. But, you know, videos, ideas, is this itself a mechanism? Is it anti-mechanical? I think one of the feedback I've received traveling the country is that people like the way that my thinking is kind of anti-mechanistic. It's not this kind of capitalistic, efficient, like we're going to get from point A to point B. I'm selling you a product. We're making money. We're maximizing profits. But instead, we're just kind of like going down the windy forest path and we don't know where it will lead us. And we're just kind of observing the things along the way. And so I think people appreciate that. And I think that it's an interesting dialectic between the two, engaging in the mechanization, becoming exhausted about it, seeking alternatives. You know, do you ever really escape it? I mean, it's always kind of there. Even if you swim to the top of the sea of hammers, you're still in a sea of hammers. Your just head is kind of poked out. Now you can see the clearing. You can see, wow, it's just hammers for miles and miles. And maybe like in the past somewhere, there was dry land. You know, I guess in this example, hammers are wet hammers, but there was dry land, and you remember the dry land, but you can't quite get to it. You can't quite get to it because even if you achieve the dry land, the sea of hammers, the sea level's rising. It's global hammer warming. 40,000 miles under the sea, you're on the dry land, but the hammers are rising. You're like, oh, I've escaped the mechanization of hammers, and maybe you can live out your life on this island, but like you know that eventually the hammer level will rise to the point where the dry land disappears. So it's a question of, will these hammers eventually get rusty? Will the wood of the handle sort of decompose? Will the rust and the rotten wood, will it eventually kind of return to soil and form new islands? That's ultimately my hope, but in the immediate future, we can't really speed that process up. The rust of the hammers is a process that it's going to take its own course. And there's really not, I mean, you could take a bucket of water and you could start pouring it on hammers. That's kind of how I view a lot of political people, is they're like, oh, well, we're going to pour a bucket of water over here and then a tsunami over there. And you're not really going to speed up the process. I mean, you can take a hammer, go to your kitchen sink, and you can run it under the water for hours and hours. It's not going to rust. These things take days, weeks, months, and years. And in our time scale, because it's an ocean of hammers, it takes a lot longer. But will it eventually happen? I do believe so. I believe eventually these hammers will decompose, form new masses of land, dry land, where we're actually able to move around, not be so disoriented, that we will once again reclaim that sense of intuition that is created in response to an environment. But that creation process takes a lot of time and pain. So it's difficult to deal with the fact that, at one point the earth was like this molten lava, and then it became a place where we could do things. And now it's a sea of hammers. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.